the way that he did, in the time limit that he had, let's talk about that.
Well, the Warren Commission tells you he was a sharpshooter in the Marines. And you think about it and say, wow, he must be a really good shot.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I also went through all the newspaper articles of the time period from the time a few days before November 22nd
mm-hmm.
up to about a week and a half after throughout the country. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking through New York State, and there's the Albany paper, and I'm going through everything in the Albany paper. And there's his NCO giving an interview, non-commissioned officer, telling the newspaper that he couldn't understand how Oswald made those shots. Mm-hmm. Oswald was, and I quote, a very poor shot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then in those volumes, the testimony of a friend of his, Nelson Delgado,
mm-hmm.
he told the Warren Commission that on the day Lee scored the sharpshooter, actually it was marksman,
mm-hmm.
that he was shooting in the lane next to him, and that Lee missed the target several times. And when they gave him his score, everyone in the troop laughed their heads off.
Mm.
They knew he was a terrible shot, and they knew the reason why he was getting this good score, so the NCO doesn't have to bring Oswald out anymore for any more practice.
Okay.
So in point of fact, he's a terrible shot.
They tried to make it like, skipping a little bit,
mm-hmm.
but this Ferry guy,
mm-hmm.
David Ferry,
yeah.
that him and Oswald didn't know each other, that they were complete strangers and they didn't know each other.
Yeah.
But they were in the same company, because he was the company commander.
Yeah.
At one point.
Yeah.
They have a picture of Ferry. They're talking with the guys. Oswald's in the crowd of guys.
Yeah.
And Ferry is the commando.
Yeah.
So it's like, come on here. We have eyes. We can see for ourselves, what the deal is. It's amazing.
Edward Vobel was a friend of his when they were teenagers, and Edward Vobel actually brought Lee into the that Air Cadet program for teenagers.
Okay.
And Edward Vobel told the Warren Commission
mm-hmm.
that the commander, it was David Ferry.
Mm-hmm.
So it's right there in those volumes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's truly amazing of how far people will go to continue the lie, continue the lie. And
they must have a lot to lose, perhaps. I hope I can help them lose it.
We're going to take a short break here. And like I say, if you guys have any of your questions or comments that you have for Michael Calder, he's here in the studio, and we would love to hear from you. And like I say, I'm not letting this subject die. So this is Kennedy Revisited, because if it happened several times, and we know it has, it will happen again and continue to happen. So we're going to go into a little break here, and we'll be right back.
I wasn't true. I never found a home inside of you. Never let it be said I wasn't true. I gave you all my time. I gave you all my time.
That was The Dead Can Dance. The ubiquitous Mr. Lovegrove is the name of the tune. Nice, huh? Well, let's continue our conversation here with Michael Calder. And he has a cable TV show that comes on Santa Monica Cable, which is Century Cable, out here in Eagle Rock and the Santa Monica area and throughout some parts of Los Angeles. And the name of your show is just the Michael Calder Show?
No, because it's not about me.
Okay.
It's a JFK assassination. He's the one who died.
Okay. No, I'm talking about your cable TV show. Is it just a...
no, it'll be called JFK Assassination.
Okay, just all the way through.
Yeah.
No matter... this is the subject that you're just going to stick with...
Oh, yeah.
Continuously.
Yeah.
Throughout your shows. And what's your next show about? How
Yeah.
much are you going to be dealing with the Kennedy assassination? What's
I'm
your
going to
next
show the
subject?
people how it actually happened.
Okay.
So I gathered 15 photographs of that day, and especially in Daily Plaza, and I'm showing where the gunmen are, how Kennedy's going backwards after he's hit, where other citizens are standing and what their testimony is, which point to the grassy knoll. I show the Zapruder assassination film. I touch a little bit on the criminal case against Lee, but not too much. It was only a half hour.
Okay.
So that half hour, I show exactly what happened.
Okay.
The killing, in other words.
Okay. So you're just going to take certain segments and just all the way through, you know, on your shows to, you know, let people know, you
Yes.
know, in detail and show them picture by picture or detail by detail what has happened and what did happen. Well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. And how long have you been doing your cable TV show?
Over a year now.
All right.
I got angry about one thing or another. That's why I did the first one. But there was a strong response, and they kept showing it often. They asked me to come in and do some call-in shows, which I did. And then I did this one.
All right.
This next one.
All right. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And I would like to make an announcement that if the listeners out there in the audience out in Radio Land along the waves there, if you'd like to come down and participate Saturday, Michael and I will be taping a show of Icey's Soapbox at the United Artists Studio and in the Valley. It's on Oxnard Street, and the address is 15055 Oxnard. And you're more than welcome to be in our audience and ask your own questions in the flesh, so to speak. And once again, that address is 15055 Oxnard, and that's in Van Nuys, California. And you're more than welcome to come down and participate with us. And I know it's a few of you out there, more than a few, that would like to see this case opened up again and solved, you know, and put these treasonous people behind bars, you know, or bring them to some type of justice. Because until we settle this matter, you know, how can we go on in the future? That's why so many things that we see today are happening in our communities and in our lives that we feel we have no control over. You know, we need to take back our control and say, hey, wait a minute here. You know, we put you in office and we will vote you out if that's what it takes to get what we want done. You know, we do count here. Don't think we don't, you know, and get mad, you know, and let's start putting some action to some of that anger that we're feeling. Instead of taking it out on each other, let's take it out on the government officials and get their butts out of office if they're not doing what we choose for them to do, you know, out here in our society, and make our lives better, not just theirs. You know, I am so sick of them, you know, riding on the taxpayers' coattail. You know, I am. So let's get back to business at hand here. I get a little carried away. Let's talk about the fingerprints that were found on the rifle, or were not found the day of the shooting, but were found a week later.
Yeah. Warren Commission tells you that fingerprints are found on the rifle, and he belonged to Lee Oswald, so he must have done the shooting. Well, unfortunately, that rifle and a large paper sack that was found near the sniper's nest is taken from the Dallas PD at 11:30 that night. Vince Drain of the FBI takes it up to the FBI crime lab. Now, Sebastian Latona examines it the next morning, the morning after the assassination. He's one of the world's foremost fingerprint experts. He examines the large paper sack for fingerprints because how did Oswald get the rifle in there? He had to smuggle it in, disassembled, and then reassemble it time to kill Kennedy. So here's a large paper sack. It's not really supposed to be near the sniper's nest. This is how Oswald smuggled the gun in. He examines the large paper sack. There are no fingerprints on the sack the morning after the assassination. They hand the sack to a guy named James Cadigan, a question documents expert for the FBI. He tells the Warren Commission there are no rifle markings in that bag from Oswald's gun or any other gun. Which means, how do you put a disassembled rifle into a bag, carry it to work, take it out, and not leave some kind of little mark? So he examines the rifle. He tells the Warren Commission to examine all parts. He goes into great length. How do you get fingerprints? And there's no fingerprints on the rifle. Mails the rifle and the paper sack back to the Dallas PD. Now, a week later, the Dallas PD remails the paper sack back. He re-examines it, finds a fingerprint. It belongs to Lee Oswald. He gets a little fingerprint sent to him with a little note saying, taken off underside of barrel of C2766, which is the Italian Maliker Carcano.
Okay.
But how come the Dallas PD are able to get it, but not the FBI? In point of fact, there's no fingerprints on the primary evidence the morning after the assassination.
Okay.
The fact that there are fingerprints a week later, especially after Oswald being killed a couple of days later, means that someone's framing Lee posthumously. There's a pre-framing of Lee that goes on in the month or so before the assassination.
Right.
Then there's the post-framing. Well, that's one of the parameters of the assassination. Who has that ability?
Right. Exactly. Because the phones shut down, in Washington and Dallas, and for at least 15, 20 minutes?
No, I think it was quite longer in Washington.
Was it longer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the coup's taking place.
Right.
Now, what if Kennedy doesn't die? What if he's just wounded? I don't think these guys are going to stop, because if Kennedy's going to be alive, he's going to track him down. I think if he hadn't died, there would have been a military attempt. I don't know if they would have been successful, but yeah, it would have been quite interesting if they hadn't been successful in killing him.
Interesting. Very interesting. I found it real interesting just a couple of weeks ago when they were, in fact, I think it was last week, they were cleaning out the facility that holds all these documents, the Washington documents, and they were packing them up and moving them to another place. And I found it real interesting that they kept the windshield that was in the car the day that Kennedy was shot. They had it all wrapped up. You saw them taking it out and the whole bit, putting it in a truck, taking it someplace else. But they did not keep the man's brain. The man's brain ended up missing. It disappeared. No one knows where's it at. Very interesting.
But do you understand why they did that?
Oh, yeah.
Because the bullet cuts a path through the brain.
Right.
And if you look at the brain, you see the path going from
one direction,
front to back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Oh, it's awful.
They keep the windshield because that's not the real windshield. Roy Kellerman is a Secret Service agent in the car. He told the Warren Commission he examined the windshield that night.
Okay.
And it wasn't the same windshield that's being presented to him in early '64. He said this one's much smoother and there's different breaks in the glass.
Okay.
So yeah, they're playing games there too.
So they. Unbelievable. And LBJ had the car, the limo that they were in, washed down. The whole bit, like that evening or the next day or so, which is destroying evidence.
Yeah.
Destroying evidence. I've never been a cop, but I know that in a crime scene, you're supposed to keep it as it is.
Absolutely.
While you're investigating, unless you're trying to cover something up. Why clean it so fast?
To go even further, they restructure the car right after the assassination, so it's not actually the same car during '64. So they can't use that limousine of that Lincoln.
Unbelievable. I know in November when I went back to Texas, and I was talking to you about this a little bit before we went on the air, and standing down there, I used to work downtown, and I never got an opportunity, I didn't take the opportunity, I'll say that, of getting out of my car and walking the distance of the Grassy Knoll area and all the area that took place in the Dealey Plaza. But when I went back home this past Thanksgiving for the memorial service and Thanksgiving, the whole bit, to take time, to go to this place where this happened. And it was such a eerie feeling. This was, close to at nighttime when the service was going on around 10:30, 11, that type of thing. And it was about, I would say maybe 500 to 1,000 of us there, that don't believe what we have been told to believe. And we were there holding our candles and lighting our candles, and they had speakers. It was a guy there that did a report on Frontline, which has been very open and honest about his reporting of this incident. Marina Oswald was there. She spoke, and the people from the Citizens for the Truth, against the Kennedy assassination for the truth, and with James D. Eugenio, which has also been on the show. And it was just a very eerie feeling to look around and to see the Grassy Knoll area and the whole Dealey Plaza. It was just